It's Monday, October 22nd, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we have news on voting at Barnstable, and we're all chirping about our new monthly Bug Buzz segment. Let's start with some news you can use, though. Residents who don't want to wait until Election Day in November to vote can begin casting their ballots today with early voting at Town Hall. Registered voters will be allowed to cast ballots for any reason at designated early voting locations in all towns throughout Massachusetts through November 2nd. Clerk Ann Quirk has more. So early voting, when is that, the deadline's coming imminently?
Right. So you have to have registered to vote by the 17th of October in order to vote in this election.
Okay.
October 22nd starts early voting and ends on the 2nd of November. Absentee balloting is going on right now, which is what all of this is that I'm working on.
Okay.
And absentee balloting is good up until the day before the election. They have to have requested it before noontime on the 5th of November.
Okay.
In order to do an absentee ballot, because the next day is the election day.
Okay.
So, you know, we're kind of juggling all of this stuff. And at noon on the 5th of November, Monday the 5th, my office is closing, because then we have to put everything together so that the voter lists are all done and ready to go for the elections.
Right. So, you know, just crazy stuff to the wall right now. So October 17th, register to vote, that's end, right?
At 8 p.m. that night, we're done.
Okay, so is the clerk's office open a little later for that evening?
Yes, we'll be open till 8 for all people that are last minute to get there.
Last minute, register to vote. Then right now, you're getting requests for absentee ballots.
Correct.
So you can make those requests.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have to mail this stuff back.
Yes. So if you're around right now and you want an absentee ballot, please come in. We'll give it to you right here. You'll vote at the counter. We'll have you put it in an envelope just like this one is. You sign your name on it, you seal the envelope, and it goes with us on Election Day to your polling location. They open them up there and they put them through the tabulator.
Okay.
So it's just like you were there voting that day.
Okay. And then all of these absentee voting things that you're doing today go through the state system. So there's no craziness here. This is all above board. We're literally, you know, you make the request, you get the ballot, you return the ballot, it goes to your polling place.
Exactly.
That is fantastic. We're not going to take up much more of your time unless you have something else you want to tell residents and voters before, let's see here, the 17th, which is registration ends, the 22nd
is the first day they can vote as early voters.
And that'll happen at 367 Main Street,
Yes.
right here in Town Hall.
Right here in Town Hall, first floor. We're going to do it right through the clerk's office so that as a person comes in, we can go right into this system. I'm going to give you a quick look at that. So I'm going to say Ann Quirk is going to do one of those early voters. So while you're closer to the keyboard than I am, will you type QUI and then just hit the tab key and put A for Ann. And we're just going to search for me. And look at that. There's a lot of QUIs, but this is me. So we would create it right here. That's my mailing address today.
Okay.
You come in to vote, you vote in the office, we click it off, you give you a ballot, you're all done.
Just like that.
Just like that.
And avoid the lines.
Avoid the lines. You can get it done that way. Early voting is going to be done approximately the same way. You're going to walk into the office and we're going to give it to you as an early voting. But we want to get this piece of it done so that it updates in the voter registration information system, which is what this is, in order for me to pull the correct voter list before you go to the polls, the others go to the polls.
Right.
So it'll show EV or AV next to the names.
Right. And we want to make sure that if people aren't sure if they're registered to vote or if they have any question at all, they can give you a call here at Town Hall. And you can also use the state system to
Absolutely.
search your own name to see if you're registered to vote.
It works really well if you go onto the Secretary of State's website, which is very easy to get to.
Okay.
Okay?
Excellent. Thanks for taking time with us today.
Thank you.
Insects, love them or hate them. Beneficial and beautiful bugs or pesky pests? Local entomologists Larry Dapsis and Gabby Sokolsky square off on this debate in their inaugural Bug Buzz segment. The wasp or the monarch butterfly? What bugs bug you?
Hi, my name is Gabrielle Sokolsky and I'm the entomologist with the Cape Cod Mosquito Control Project. And when Larry first approached me about collaborating on this Bug of a Month show, my one stipulation was no cuddly bugs for me to talk about. I find the other types of insects, not the pretty ones, more interesting. So if you look at this picture, you've got some cuddly, fuzzy, adorable bees and bumblebees. And there was a study recently published by the University College of London that actually said when people were shown pictures of bees and bumblebees, they had warm, fuzzy feelings. And I think part of that warm, fuzzy feeling is we've done a good job as entomologists and ecologists getting the word out. Honeybees and pollinators are important, and the decline of those populations is going to impact not just the environment, but that's going to impact also human society as we know it. So that message has gotten out. So when people see these bees, honeybees, bumblebees, they get those warm, fuzzy feelings. And in fact, here in the United States, when I looked it up, we found that out of the 45 states that have official insects for their states, 17 states have chosen the honeybee as their official insect. Only one state, New Mexico, has a wasp as their official insect. So today I'm going to talk about wasps. And in particular, I'm going to talk about yellow jackets. Looks kind of tough, right? Those yellow jackets, they are kind of tough. But maybe like the main character in that book, Wicked, I love the musical, maybe they're just misunderstood. I think most people know what a yellow jacket is when they look at it. They are about a ½ an inch long insect. They have those yellow-black alternating bands on their abdomen, and they're not very hairy. Unfortunately, that's what makes them not great pollinators. They aren't pollinators at all. And this time of year, as we go into fall, this is when we really find people having these aggressive encounters with the yellow jackets. So what's going on in the yellow jacket's life? Let me tell you about it. So this is a picture of a wasp nest. When you see these here on Cape Cod, these are actually bald-faced hornets. But they make their nests, hives, in the same way that the yellow jackets do. They're chewing on wood fibers and creating this papery substance, and they put that down in layers to create their nests. In the spring, these yellow jackets come out, the fertilized queens come out of their protective locations. Through the winter, they spend their time in the leaf litter, in logs, somewhere a little more protected. In the spring, May, June here on Cape Cod, they'll come out and start to build their hives. Yellow jackets here build their hives in the ground or in structures like walls, under the shingles in your roof, things like that. And throughout the summer, their populations increase over time. Yellow jackets here feed on, yellow jackets in general, feed on things like sugary substances for energy. And that's sometimes where we encounter them. The Coca-Cola that you're drinking, that can that's sitting out there, is attracting them just the way a flower would. Something sugary, something tasty for them. They also hunt. They hunt insects to feed their young. So they'll go out and find insects. Now, most insects, as we know, are not pests. 99% of insects aren't. 1% are, and so yellow jackets are going out there and picking up some of those pests from your garden to take them back to feed their young. And again, this is another way that we encounter yellow jackets. Your hamburger is meat, and they're looking for meat and protein to feed their young, so you're going to come into contact with them. As we get through towards the end of the season, their hives change to 30% fertilized, 30% queens. Those queens are then fertilized, and they're getting ready to overwinter. This time of year when those queens are getting ready to overwinter and those hives are at high production, at this time of year you may have hives of 1,000 wasps in a hive here. That's the time when they're most aggressive because they're out there looking for food sources and the insect populations are low and all those flowering plants are starting to go away. We also run into them when we're landscaping because we don't expect them and then there they are in the ground. We're lucky here in the Northeast that our wasp populations are being controlled by the weather, because if we didn't have the winter weather to keep them down, you could have something like in this picture, an entire car filled with a wasp colony. It just keeps growing. So in places like Hawaii, where this picture was from, and even in the South here, in the continental United States, you can have populations of thousands and thousands of wasps in one colony. It's frightening. So wasps are part of our environment, just like our cute honeybees. So I want people to not be afraid of them. The only time you really need to control wasps is if you're coming into contact with them or if they're impacting you in some way. And if you're going to control wasps, my suggestion, my first step would be to contact Larry at the Cooperative Extension Service for information on control.
Well, as fascinating as yellow jackets are, and I certainly agree with you on many of those interesting points that you made, I am going to take the warm and fuzzy route in this segment. I'm going to talk about something that is so aesthetically stunning that it will blow people's minds in terms of how it makes its living. So here's a picture of an adult monarch butterfly. Basically, this could have been a national symbol, but we don't have a national insect. But it is endeared by a number of states as their official state insect, and there are 8 states, including West Virginia, who also has the honeybee, so they can't make up their minds in West Virginia. So monarchs are very interesting creatures, and one of the things is you look at this and it just stands out. It does not want to be unnoticed. And so things like predators, like birds, can see those things from a mile away. And so an untrained bird will come up and grab a monarch butterfly and eat it. But what the bird doesn't realize is that as these monarch butterfly larvae are feeding on milkweed, milkweed contains cardiac glycosides. So that bird, after ingesting a monarch butterfly, about 10 minutes later, it's going to throw up violently. And that bird's going to wonder, like, what the heck did I just eat? And it'll remember that orange and black beautiful butterfly. And so it's a note to self, never eat a black and white butterfly ever again. So some of the monarchs take one for the team, basically, to train the bird population to have the predators evade them. Now, what's also interesting about this is, here's a viceroy butterfly, all right? Looks almost, at first glance, it's identical to a monarch butterfly. But the viceroy butterfly is actually quite palatable. So over the course of evolution, we see examples of mimicry, things that look like things that are dangerous or unpalatable. So the viceroy has played this card, and if you look at them together very quickly, except for those black lines on the hind wings of the viceroy butterfly, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and neither can a bird. So let's look at this fall migration map. Now, monarchs will actually migrate south, and they do this based on changes in the milkweed plant. So later in the summer into the fall, as milkweed plants are getting ready to go dormant, they actually change the signature of the chemicals in the foliage. And so that sends a signal to the monarch butterfly, stop laying eggs on this plant because it's time to go south. And the butterflies on the west coast, they will migrate into southern, the Baja area. But the predominant population of the Midwest and East Coast, most of them go to Mexico. A few of them go to southern Florida. But by and large, the majority of them go to a very isolated place in Mexico. And it's not like they're going on vacation. It's like, hey, hon, didn't we have fun in the mountains of Mexico last year? Let's go again. They're going to a place they've never been before. And so how do they accomplish this feat? Because this journey for some of these butterflies coming from Canada, that might be 3,000 miles. So when the butterflies decide to migrate, they'll ride air thermals so they're not, having to use their own energy all of the way. But how do they know that they're going south? Well, when the sun rises, it rises in the east, and the butterflies know that. So the butterfly knows as long as I keep the sun to my left, I'm going south. And then over the course of the day, as that sun gets to high noon and it starts going into the west, the butterfly knows as long as I keep that sun on my right side, I'm going south. And so there's also evidence that these butterflies can navigate the magnetic field lines of the Earth that go between the North and South poles. So this thing basically has a compass. So it finds its way to Mexico, but some people have been planting milkweed because they hear that there are problems with the populations. So people are doing what they think is the right thing to do. Let's plant milkweed. Well, not all milkweed is created equally. So here's a picture of the common milkweed that we associate, with the monarch butterflies. But there's also tropical and subtropical species of milkweed as shown here. These tropical varieties, they do not go dormant. So when the butterflies encounter them, it's like, okay, let's just start laying eggs again. And as long as that plant is growing, the butterfly is going to lay eggs, and then comes a frost, and you lose your monarch butterflies. So if you're going to plant milkweed, and I think it's a good idea, at least plant the right species. So let's look at where the site is that they wind up. This is a forested area in Mexico in the mountains, and those trees are covered with butterflies. And you see the limbs almost bending down to the ground just under the sheer weight of the butterflies. And so these butterflies wind up in a fairly small area. And if we look at this map of total acres occupied by the butterflies, we see an alarming trend here. We see the total acres of butterfly inhabited trees has been ratcheting down to a point where in a few years it's under an acre in size, down from upwards of 20 acres many years ago. So this butterfly actually is on the verge of extinction unless we really take some action on ourselves. So if we look at this spring migration map, the butterflies leave Mexico, but they don't just jaunt up here in one shot. By the time we see the butterflies during the summer, they're already the third generation of children and adult monarchs after leaving Mexico. And so here's the big problem, is that more and more crops in the southern states where they would first alight are planting Roundup ready crops. And so what basically has happened is they're incorporating a resistance to this broad spectrum herbicide Roundup. Roundup basically will kill anything green that it touches. So we have, all the major crops now in this Roundup ready. So the cotton, the soybean, the corn, the alfalfa. And so this allows the farmers to spray over the tops of these crops and basically obliterate any weeds that are in the area, including milkweed. So we basically have taken away a significant habitat to allow these butterflies to reproduce and then move further north. So there's a number of groups that are now partnering together and trying to work with growers to have land set-asides and basically create more habitat for wildflowers, including our milkweed, and basically create corridors that allows this thing to continue to go north and south, where it has been doing this for, tens of thousands of years. And so they need our help, unlike the yellow jackets. I'm Larry. We hope that you enjoyed this segment of Bug Buzz, and Gabby and I look forward to seeing you next month.
We do.
Here's a look at the community calendar. The Barnstable Youth Commission and Barnstable Police Department Community Impact Unit on October 24th at 6:30 p.m. at the HYCC will present a Community Substance Abuse Prevention Forum. A panel discussion will help parents and community members discover red flags, what substances are out there, dangerous household products, and a Q&A with police officer. Here's more about the event.
We, as members of the Youth Commission, have identified that substance abuse is a serious problem that we face at all ages, especially within our schools. We have been running the Community Substance Abuse Forum for 5 years now at the community college in the spring, but this year we've decided to make it earlier and really try to make an impact, especially amongst parents, informing them what's out there and how to watch out for their own children.
So we'll be holding that at the HYCC this year, which is awesome. The first year that we did have it, we had it at the HYCC, and we had a lot more people showed up. So we're looking forward to having it back there in hopes that it's more accessible for people to get there. It's open to anyone on Cape Cod. It will start at 6:30 on October 24th. We really, the Barnstable Police will be there. We're hoping to have quite a panel set up. And we'll be showing you what's out there, from the jewels to the edibles. You won't physically be able to put your hands on everything, but there's issues in this town that the Youth Commission has physically seen at every school here on Cape Cod. So come on out, get informed, know what's out there, and let the youth and our police department show you what's going on. Probably 6 years ago, started to look at what different programs they felt needed to be done and what things needed to be offered to our community. And prevention at the time with the opioid crisis was one of the top priorities. And as a result, after looking at everything, they found out there's no money appropriated at the time. There was less than 1% of any dollar going towards prevention. And that's when the Cape Cod opioid, the HBO special went out, and everybody was so disappointed in that it didn't show some of the good things that were happening in recovery, but we really needed to start doing prevention, and the youth identified that. And so the first year we tried it at the youth center, and it was packed. We had a lot of people show up. The development of the program has changed a little bit. In the first year, we just showed a film, and then we had someone come in and talk. The Youth Commission enjoyed that, and we had the numbers, but they identified other things that families might want to have. So we had Chris Heron one year. We've had, what's the name of the man? The magician. Do you remember?
Hackinson?
Yes, Hackinson.
Mr. Hackinson.
Robert Hackinson runs Dynamic Influence, and he came down. And we've done definitely a lot of different programs, but last year we had the Barnstable Police, and though the number of people that were there were very low, what they got was well received, and basically they felt there was a major demand for our community to know what, especially our parents and our teachers. Our teachers were horrified by what they saw, that they didn't know was in their classroom. It was in their classroom, and they didn't know it until they went to this program. So it's important that people be able to identify what's out there. It's really hard.
Overall, this program can really be used for anyone. Anyone who can make it in the community, in the area, should really try to be there. I mean, it'll be a very informative event for all. But I believe it has really special value to the parents and the teachers and those who interact with the youth, as it really helps identify what's out there. I mean, things change every month now, so it's really important to be on top of what's out there so you know how to help with the situation.
Yeah, the data that's out there is from 2017 is the last time. They're not keeping up with the data. The data is not what's happening today. So we're reacting, we're all responding to things that happened 2 years ago. It's like we're going into 2019. Things have changed since 2017. So we need to move a little quicker, and this will get the information out quicker.
Here's a look at this week's meeting schedule for boards, commissions, and committees. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you, I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.